Welcome to another edition of Let's Talk. I'm your host, Michael Quarry. Today, my guest is Ginger Davis, managing partner of Untold Stories. So tell us, Miss Davis, what does your company do? When will you form? Give us the particulars.
First of all, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
I really appreciate this opportunity to sit with you and to talk about our company, what we're doing. Untold Story is a multimedia production company. Like you, we produce shows for public access television and for other entities. We also provide business development services and marketing communication services for other content producers because most people are really in doing their projects. And the other parts of what needs to be done, which is the marketing and developing it as a business, is something that's really lacking. So we actually help other small businesses, other not just television or film content producers, but also not-for-profit organizations, small businesses, entrepreneurship, and we help with taking their concepts and showing them how they can build a sustainable business from that. So we have a really great platform. We also produce our own content. We're actually in pre-production for a show called At This Point, which we are looking to air here on Brooklyn Free Speech in January.
Okay. Let's say you meet five people and all have five different things that they're working on. How do you know which one to go with, or does it matter what they're producing, or do you go by something else that you're looking for? Do you go by their energy? What do you?
It's a multiple of those things.
Yeah.
So, definitely you want to have a good rapport with whomever you're working with. So that's key. Also, the professionalism, their dedication to their own project. Because we've worked with people, we've actually had to drag them kicking and screaming through what they're supposed to be doing. Takes too much energy, so we stay away from that. We look at the kind of content that we want to have, in our repertoire, something that we can be proud of. So it's a combination of things, but the first is we have to be excited about working on this thing. Is it something that in the end, when it's all said and done and it's introduced to the public, not only that they're going to appreciate, and going to watch continuously, but that we can be proud of, because there's a lot of things out there people do, and you can do it for the money and not be proud of it.
Right. Okay, I'm working on a series about homelessness, which I kind of mentioned briefly to you about it. Would that something your company would be interested in, like the whole population, the homelessness, how are
Yes.
things?
We do a lot of social activities, a lot of charitable work. We are working right now. We're establishing a collaboration with the Department of Health here in Brooklyn. They do two programs that we're very excited about: Brooklyn Dad and the Breastfeeding Empowerment Project. And as a mom who did breastfeed, I'm like, whatever you guys want, we're going to be there. We also support the Sickle Cell Thalassemia Patients Network, and we go out and record different forums and symposiums that they do to show, both on Brooklyn Free Speech again, and they have their own television network that they're developing.
Right.
So we help with the production of content for whatever media they want to distribute their message in promoting sickle cell on. So definitely doing something about homelessness, because it is a subject that I've spoken about often. And there is, a family member that we've had an issue with homeless, and had been in the shelter system, and it's very difficult. For instance, my children can't afford to rent in the neighborhood they were born and raised in, because most everything now is either condo, co-op. There's an apartment across the street from me, 1 bedroom, that's going for $1 million.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
There is a 1 bedroom apartment in the private complex that I live in downtown Brooklyn that is going for $1 million.
Okay. Does it come with a jacuzzi?
No jacuzzi, not in the backyard.
Indoor parking.
Backyard that you have to, no parking. You have to struggle with everyone else to find a parking space.
And they're asking for $1 million.
And they're asking for $1 million.
Not $1 million in rubles, but $1 million American
in
dollars.
USD. And it's ridiculous because you know, I've always taught my children to be independent, for them to
Right.
go out on their own and do their own thing. And the middle child, my youngest is in Toronto. The middle one is in Raleigh. She couldn't take because she couldn't afford to live here. The oldest, she's a diehard New Yorker, and right now she's paying $1,100 to share an apartment with someone else, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I remember years ago when I was in public school. I don't think that maybe about 3 years ago I was in public school. You know, I was in social studies class, and I remember my instructor telling me at some point that people are going to start living together for whatever reason. And here we are 20 some odd years later, and that's exactly what's going on. But that subject, as we all know, we can sit here and talk about it from now until next week because there's so many facets to it. It's scary to even think about it. Just to share something with you, my housing got a little rocky a couple months ago. And for a brief moment, I thought I was going to be homeless to myself. And that was the most scariest thing that I've ever, it was such a deadened feeling that came over me. Luckily, things were in the stars. People stepped in, they looked out for me. But that arc
Right.
to go from secure housing to it
almost
was
in
very-
the street and working people.
yeah, and
people
that
who
was
are
the
working
scary
one
part.
and two jobs are in that situation.
it's a scary thing to
and
think
it
about.
is.
Yeah.
You know, I know of a young woman with two kids, a young couple with two children, and they have bounced from shelter to shelter. An unfortunate death in the family has provided housing for them now, but now housing is trying to throw them out because they said since the original head of household has passed, they are not obligated to honor the
Right.
contract.
Right.
And this is crazy. So you're really ready to throw a couple with two young children out
Obviously,
in the street
there's no
because
commitment.
they can
Right.
get more money for
Right,
the
right,
apartment.
right.
And everybody we've talked to, you know,
Right.
and my advocating for them has said that they basically can get market rents for that now. And if you stay in there, the rent is going to stay stabilized. And so it's a really, really vicious cycle. And what we have something upwards of 60,000 people homeless
And
in
growing.
New York and growing, and
growing.
many of them are
Yeah.
parents with children.
I'm going to say this one last point, and then we're going to go on to what you're doing because that subject alone, that's like a PBS series in itself.
Yes.
I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Homelessness does not discriminate.
No, it does not.
It has no color. It has no socioeconomic barrier. It does not discriminate. And folks who are thinking that, oh, that person's homeless, I'm going to stay away from them, it could be you. So watch how you treat people.
Watch.
But anyway, let's move on because I know you have a plane to catch, and I know your security details probably going to come up here and beat me
Yeah,
up if I don't
they're
have
already
any. Yeah.
ringing.
So how many people do you have working for your company?
Oh, it
roughly?
varies from time to time. I have a set of producers that I work with who we actually all got certified together, and we really do support one another in what we're doing. So I think I have a stable 6 with that. And then my partner David and I, we have an internship program,
Okay.
and we use our company to give the opportunity to current college students, recent graduates, and even master's candidates to come into the industry and see, is this what you really want to do? You're spending a lot of money getting
Right,
these
right,
degrees right
right.
now, or you just graduated in 6 months, you're going to have to be paying back student loans. Is this what you really want to do? And they handle just about every aspect of the business. So we have one young lady, for instance, Kia, who's now a master's student at LIU. She's working on her MFA. And, you know, we ask, what is it that you want to accomplish through this internship? What are your career goals? And we not only have them working and doing various things in the production, we also take time to do career development with them. And she said that she wanted to know the business from top to bottom. She wanted to be involved in all aspects of production. So she's actually working with me very closely in all of the planning, doing the budgeting, doing the scheduling, doing research, setting up the crews, things like that. Victoria said she wants to do something creative, and I said, well, you're going to have to give me a little bit more
Right,
than that.
right.
And she says she likes photography, and I'm like, great, because we have a need for creating our own original content for all of our social media promotions, things like that. So really depending on what the career path is of the intern, the candidate, it's how we fit them
Right.
into, and then we make them do their own project too.
Right.
So they
Okay.
come up with an idea, they write a script, we provide the crew to film it and everything for them, and then after editing, we submit it and have a screening
Yeah.
party for the air date.
Question. I don't know if I asked you this before, but how did you get started with this? How did you get
It
started?
was a fluke.
Yeah.
I'm coming out of health, transitioned into doing PR work for a couple of years, and kind of fell into marketing communications. I had met some Brazilian filmmakers about 2 years ago, and I was invited onto a Facebook conversation that was being led by a group out in California. And one of those people in the conversation's mother had started a television network about 9-10 years ago. And the conversation was around them revamping the network because they weren't getting the results that they needed. And so our team assessed what it is that's going on, what's holding you from growing, what's keeping you from getting the advertising. And the first thing was their website. It was the major reason why they were not getting new content, why they weren't getting new subscribers, why they were not getting advertisers. And I finally had a conversation with the owner of the station and say, hey, listen, we can put together a packet for you, and we can actually help you restructure and build a sustainable business. Well, she never got back to me. So we talked to each other like, we could do this ourselves. And that's exactly how this
Right.
company started.
Okay.
We can do this ourselves. And the original intent of Untold Story was not really to be content producers, but was to start an IP or Internet Protocol television network. So if you think structure, Netflix, but more like HBO where everything is original.
Okay.
But since I was working with filmmakers, we ended up getting into producing content. And I've worked with content producers at other stations like Manhattan Neighborhood Network. And I have some people involved with public access in Nassau County, in Queens. So our company kind of has a further reach in terms of we actually have access to distributing our content in all 5 boroughs and Long Island. So we've actually done more of the content producing side than the network, but we're really looking to focus in this month on getting the network launched. So it'll be the Untold Story Network or the UTS Network. And we're reaching out to other content producers to say, hey, we really like your work. Come join us over here. And we actually, our mission is to rescue people who've been languishing in YouTube and Vimeo. I mean, it's great that those services are there. People are able to show their work and archive their work and everything, but they're not making money from it. And the platforms themselves are making tremendous amount of money off of this content. So we want to be able to create a situation where independent content producers can come show their work on our network and generate an income from their talent, from what they.
I really encourage everyone who wants to do that. Definitely hook up with Untold Stories and with Ms. Ginger Davis, and your website is
Website is untoldstory.media, and our social media is pretty much the same. So Twitter is UT Story Media, Facebook, Instagram are Untold Story Media. Couldn't get all those characters in on Twitter, so UT Story Media for Twitter and Untold Story Media for Facebook and Instagram. For at this point, it's ATP Conversations, and that's across also. So Instagram, Facebook, Twitter are all ATP Conversations. And and I also forgot to mention our magazine. So we have a digital magazine called B1 Fashion and Art. It's actually a project that was started back in 2013.
How's that going?
It's going slowly.
Slowly.
We're doing a little bit issues. We wanted to try to launch this issue this month, but it's going to be put on hold until February. So we're going to do it after Fashion Week. And we're using that as a platform to promote independent, emerging apparel and accessory designers and artists from all genres. So artists in the community, not everybody is a new talent coming up. There are people who have been doing their stuff 10, 20 years and have not gotten the recognition or the media attention, but they are so absolutely talented. And so we want to use B1 as a platform to give them their 15 minutes in the public eye. But then more so than that, we really want to help to build their clientele, to help continuously promote them. There's some people that we've been following since 2013, and we always come back to them and say, hey, what are you doing now?
Right.
So we have, we do a tribute to the masters, people who have been honing their craft for more than a decade, and have loaned themselves to teaching and mentoring others, some very famous and some not so famous people. We do the spotlight on fashion and art for the emerging and community talent. And one of my favorite sections is On the Rise, which are talented young people from the ages 18 and under. And so if you're out there, let us know. And we also talk about business and technology as it's related to fashion and art. And most people wouldn't think that, it has any, but it is. The zipper was a technological advance at the time that it was created. So things like that we like to talk about and give those, did you know kind of things. And again, we use it as an opportunity to provide internships for journalists, young folks who want to become editors, for photographers, for copywriters. So we have a full team of college students, sometimes high school students, when they really present themselves and as, wow, you're really great, come on in and come work with us. So we have both folks in the community and students who have collaborated and contributed to put this project together.
Okay. All right. Well, I wish you all the best with that.
Thank
I
you.
wish us all the best. I was just thinking, it's show business. It's a business.
It is a
a lot of
business.
people don't realize it's a business first and then show. So I always say if you can get the business side of it down first, then you'll be able to enjoy the show side of it.
Right,
But
the
some
creative
people
expression.
switch it for whatever reason. But anyway, I'm glad you stopped by. How much time do we have, Mr. John?
How much time?
Yeah.
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
we got-
We got
we
10
can
minutes.
fill
All
10
right, so
minutes.
let's talk about whatever. All right, so how's the weather going?
Actually, I'm a tropical baby.
Okay.
Well, I got tropical blood running through my. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, but I have, I'm first generation from Central America,
Right,
and
right.
I have an aversion to the cold.
Okay.
However, when it was snowing yesterday and I was out in it, it was so tranquil,
Yeah.
and it was just beautiful.
Right.
I did take some pictures, not enough. Today the sun is out, sidewalks clear, the snow is melting, and it's not too cold. Usually below 32 degrees, I'm locked
Yeah,
indoors and
yeah.
I'm ready to go somewhere
Yeah.
warm. We like doing stuff outside. We don't always do our shows in the studios. We find different locations.
Right.
where we
I
choose.
like location stuff too.
Yeah, I love location work.
when I-
Just the different
yeah.
scenes and everything.
When I
else.
worked on the first part of the system, it's funny how I had envisioned where I wanted everything to be shot. But somehow in the back of my mind, I was like, well, that means I have to get permission. That means paperwork, running back and forth. The camera guy had the same idea, and he was like, no, you can go in here, you can do this. And we just basically the same locations I had picked up, and I bypassed for whatever reason. Same thing, he came and we ended up doing it. So I like location shoots. Indoors are nice, but locations are nice because then you feel there's a different energy when you shoot
yes, it's very
outside.
open, and you have all of that stuff that's going on.
Right.
It's a challenge for audio, so we use the Zoom recorder a lot.
Right.
But even indoors, people that we've approached and say, can we come in and bring our camera crew and shoot? And they're like, oh yeah, and I mean, people have really been supportive. You'd be surprised that folks will say yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in exchange, we also, promote their businesses. We promote their locations. We always give kudos and shout outs to them on social media for their support. We have, one of the things, again, when we talk about business development for production, we do sponsorship development, so for businesses that do in-kind sponsorship for us, that either provide a service, get products or whatever else, we do promos for them on our content. And we also have like banner ads and things like vertical ads on our websites. So they get advertisement on
Right,
our
right,
website,
right.
social media, but on our Showcon, they'll get promos and that we fit into our content. And then for the magazine and everything else, we can actually sell straight advertisement. And because we are a small business and entrepreneurship that started in 2016 and is growing, we actually reach out to other small and medium-sized businesses first. We go to local community businesses first before we go to corporate. And actually, in our first issue of B1, we had big corporates. We had Bentley, we had Dior, Absolute, Fashion Television, which is great. And we're not saying that we're not going to do those things. But for instance, companies like Fairweather Faces, I'd love to have a full-size ad
Right.
of Fairweather Faces and support that company and for people to get to know who they are and what they do. You know, especially 20 years in the business and has opened it up for people of color to get into doing makeup, you know, in the industry. So we have made a decision and a concerted effort to do that first. Women-owned business, veteran-owned
Right,
businesses,
right.
businesses owned by disabled people. You know, so give those who really don't have access in major media, can't afford it, you know, can't get the, you know, do the licensing fees or whatever else. We want to lend ourselves to being a platform where they know they can come to. I can afford this. You know, we'll work it out.
We're not going to beat
And
you
we-
over the head with a price.
Not
We're
beating them
gonna-
over the head with
We're
a
not going to
price.
sell you, put your house on
Don't
in
have to put your
foreclosure.
house
No,
on your
no,
double,
it's something
yeah,
reasonable.
refinance your
right,
mortgage
right.
and all of that.
Something
you know,
reasonable that you can handle.
Right, and when the
that you can
network
handle.
launches,
Right.
they're getting an international audience, not just Brooklyn.
Right.
You know, it's across the country,
Right.
it's around the world.
Can I ask a question? Do you think the powers that be, you think they're looking down and say, okay, well, what's going on down here? You think they're
Oh, I feel all kinds of energy coming
Yeah,
at me. I
yeah.
tell you, one moment it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
you know, we've got all this going on and things are aligning perfectly, and then the next minute is like, are you serious? Come on.
Yeah.
And another delay or you know problem,
Yeah.
and we deal with problems very strategically. You know, risk management is a wonderful thing. We actually, David and I, can think of every scenario, and if this happens, how are we going to handle it? You know, so when things do happen, it's not a major upheaval for us, and
Right.
we can just
roll with
you
the
know,
punches?
and it's
Right,
funny because we've been around other people and we've had issues and nobody knew what was going on because we just get
Took
to
care
it.
of it,
Everybody,
right.
you do this, you know what you're
Right.
supposed to get to it.
Speaking of energy, I was telling a couple of people at break that if I'm having a really crappy day for whatever reason, you know, I can come in here and I can just kind of sit and just watch. And somehow I'm just watching the interaction, you know, between here and the offices or whatever. And I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden, you know, I'm in a conversation with somebody or I'm listening to a conversation, then an idea pop into my head. So I just want to say that break has fueled a lot of my creative juices when the outside world gets a little chaotic and things are just not. I can come here and I can
Right.
sit down and actually be around creative people, and from that conversation about whatever, I can, the light bulb goes off. So I just want to tell you, Brick, thank you.
Yes,
very
thank you,
much.
Brick. Thank you. Brooklyn Free Speech.
for making this
Yeah.
production and future productions possible. You know,
Yes, it's an amazing.
yeah,
resource.
yeah. I ran into a coworker of mine today, and he wants to be a choreographer. Okay, great. I was like, the first thing out of my mouth was like, you need to come to Break. You can take classes and start from there. You may decide to change. You want to be a filmmaker. You may want to be a podcast producer. But, you know, I gave him a little address. He took it down, gave him my card. It's like, you need to come down to Break. Come down to Break, because you just never know who you might run into. You know, you just never know. So that's my plug, if you will.
good.
But yeah, this is it's a good creative space. I was here before when it was BCAT.
BCAT, so was I. Field
And
production.
I call myself graduated, and then here I am
Right.
back at square one.
I didn't
back
take
at
it as
roots.
seriously
No.
back then. You know, I did
No,
a couple
but
of
of
things
course,
and
you
I
know,
moved off.
back
but
then
now,
shows you how old I am. They had computers back then.
I'm forever young. I'm
We were
not-
still doing things like we wasn't doing things, but I'm back home, and I'm
Right,
glad.
yes,
I'm
we
glad
are
I
back
stayed in
home.
Brooklyn. I'm not gonna let nobody drive me
No,
out of my
Brooklyn
house.
is the best borough in New York City,
Yeah.
bar none. I don't care what anyone else says.
I
This is
just
it.
got the finger from my camera guy, not the middle finger. He's telling me we got 2 minutes. So
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Okay.
Miss
Best
Davis.
fingers.
Yes. Miss Davis, come back again. Give us an update on what's going on.
I shall.
Okay.
You know, and whatever help that you need
Yes.
on doing the system, because it's a timely subject.
Very timely.
We absolutely would support you in getting the word out about that. And actually, we're going to return the favor and have you come on to at this point to
Okay.
talk about homelessness.
Thank you.
And what people can do to advocate. Because at this point, really is not just a talk show, it's a call to action.
It's a call to action.
At the end of the show, you know, we engage with our audience on our blog and our forums. We put question outs and it's like, what would you do? You know, what can you do in this instance? And we need you to speak, especially politically. And that's something a lot of people are new, but we have to start engaging politically. Political activism is important. And if we had that, we'd find less problems in terms of affordable housing.
Right.
If people were
Yeah.
staying on their legislators to make sure that they are working on our behalf.
Okay. All right. Come back again. Thank
I
you so
will.
much.
Thank you.
All right.
It's been
Take
a
care.
pleasure.
I think your chariot awaits for you.
My chariot
Yeah,
awaits, and I'm
I
going to
think
go
he's giving me
running
the
for
signal
it.
like, all right, get her out of here because we got a plane to catch. All right, fine, she's coming. Calm
coming.
down. Calm down. We'll be back, folks, with another edition of Let's Talk. Bye-bye.